Hello dear World of Warcraft friends, welcome back to a new video on my channel. Summer is still going strong. We're cooling off here as a fire owl in a pond in Silvermoon, and at the same time we're already taking a little look into the future. It won't be much longer until patch 12.1 is released and the second season starts. At the beginning of the week and over the weekend, we had the first tier lists ready for healers, DPS, and tanks, and now there are the first updates to them. That's because Blizzard did a bit of class tuning over the weekend and at the beginning of the week. Of course, that also affects the individual specs, and that's what we want to take a look at here. It's important to emphasize again at this point that things probably won't stay this way. Well, until the patch comes out, there will still be buffs and nerfs. A lot can still change. When the patch is released, which will probably be in August, there will be class tuning almost every week in the weeks that follow. So yeah, play what you enjoy. No matter how good it is, like I said a few weeks ago, I'll keep playing Boomkin. I've been playing it for 17 years now, basically every season. Back then there weren't even seasons yet, but you know what I mean. Now we're lucky again that in the new patch, Boomkin seems to be pretty good. But sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. I usually stick with Boomkin and then you know what to expect. But yeah, today there's the updated tier list. Feel free to leave a like and above all, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. It's the best way for you to support me so we can grow together here. And with that, let's get right into it. This whole thing comes from Icy Veins, more specifically from Petko. Petko is a player who is very, very good at Mythic Plus, let's put it that way. In the past, he was among the top 1% of players with several characters, if not even among the top 0.1%. He also often played specs that weren't necessarily meta. Yes. He managed it with many, many characters, let's put it that way. And if we take a look here, just as an example, so you know what we're talking about, here, for example, is his Elemental Shaman with a 4042 rating. With that, he's currently among the top, just about in the top 0.1%, I think. Should be at least top 0.5%. And if we take a closer look, just on the Kazakh server, there are even more characters. So the dude definitely knows what he's talking about. He always does a lot of research beforehand, with the individual classes, with the PTR, and accordingly, of course. It's not 100% data-based, because only Blizzard has the exact data, but the guy definitely knows what he's talking about. So we have some new updates this week. And now we actually have 5 specs in the S tier. That would at least be, as of now, a possible meta comp. Nothing has changed for Prop Pod Parlor. Joining the S tier are the Mistweaver Monks, so Monk here, Arms Warrior, Boomkin, and the Arcane Mage. However, these specs were already listed in A+ last week, and now he has decided to put them in S tier because they're just that good. So as of now, those would be the 5 best specs. Whether that's actually the best comp in the end, no idea. No idea, but in any case, you probably won't go wrong with these specs. Although Petko has already said, at least for Podparlor, that he still expects nerfs, then we have the A+ tier. Shadow Priest, Devourer, Demon Hunter, Elish Shaman, Frostika, Marksmanship Hunter, Enhancement Shaman, Resto Shaman, Destro Warlock, and Disc Priest. Let's note that it seems to be a good tier for Shaman. Every spec is at least in the A+ tier. Devourer, Marksmanship Hunter, Resto Shaman, and Destruction Warlock have all moved up. So with the Warlock, it seems a new spec is on the rise. And at first glance, it's a bit ranged heavy at this point. So here among the top 14 specs, we have 2 S tier specs up here. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 range DPS. And then there are still a few tanks and healers missing, so if you only look at the DPS, it's definitely ranged heavy, namely 7 out of 10 In the A+ tier, Retribution Paladin, newly promoted, along with Affliction Warlock, Unholy Death Knight, also new, Survival Hunter, Beast Mastery Hunter, plus the Feral Druid. Also new to the list is the Holy Paladin, as well as Demonology Warlock, Havoc Demon Hunter, no Vengeance Demon Hunter, and the Protection Warrior has dropped down. And here's the interesting thing to watch. Like I said, we're now at the end of July. The patch will most likely come out around mid-August, and I can imagine the season starting around the 19th starts, and until then, a few things will still change. And accordingly, these scenarios like here where one class rises and another falls aren't that rare. But if everything turns out as expected, the classes are actually relatively close to each other. Well, we've also had forecasts in the past where there were even specs in the C and D tier, and there was more than one. So let's wait and see. B tier or B+, Fire Mage went down, Fury Warrior, Outlaw Rogue went up, Havoc Demon Hunter went down, Brewmaster, plus Guardian Druid, and Restoration Druid. The Evoker has both gone up and down here. In B tier, we have the Assassination Rogue, Windwalker Monk, both Evoker specs, as well as Blood Death Knight, who went down, and Holy Priest, who went up. Still in C and D tier is the Subtlety Rogue, and so far the Frost Mage is uncertain and not really rankable. And yes, that gives us the rough assessment. Here we can also see once again the biggest winners of the week. Marksmanship, among other reasons, because multi-shot was massively buffed, which brings a good boost. Proc Paladins have even already been nerfed, and yet they're still strong enough in terms of damage and what they can withstand for the S tier. The biggest losers this week are Evokers. That's probably due to the nerfs for the Scale Commander, and Havoc also got nerfed quite a bit, so yeah, that's how it all adds up. It's important to note that this isn't just about pure damage or HPS output, but also things like what buffs each spec brings, like Boomkin with Mark of the Wild. For example, Boomkin still has poor single target damage even in the new season, but top damage in AoE. Lots of useful spells for the group, like Stampeding Roar, Theoretically Innovate, Ursol's Vortex, the Knockback, plus an extremely strong group buff with Mark of the Wild. So yeah, there's quite a lot there. And accordingly, it can also be the case, for example, that a spec like Subtlety Rogue isn't necessarily extremely bad in terms of damage, but it just brings fewer buffs to the group than, for example, a Boomkin or a Mage. Yeah, alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you all very much for watching. I wish you a wonderful time. See you next time, and take care.